Vegetable prices are soaring. Tomatoes have almost hit 100 in some retail outlets in many parts of India, from Mumbai to Bengaluru. And it's not just tomatoes. From onions to beans to pulses, the prices have almost doubled, some in a span of just 2 weeks.
It's really tough. If there is 2 children and wife and husband else, it's so tough to manage because 80 rupees tomato. At least we use 1 case for 3 days. Yeah. 81 rupees, onion is 50, 54, like that means how can we manage? It's really tough.
No, it's becoming very difficult for us to manage this because vegetables, tomatoes, corianders, all these things are daily, day-to-day need. And this thing is, if the price is increased, it is very difficult for us to manage in cooking.
So nowadays, most of the vegetables prices are very high. And especially South Indian food, you cannot make it without tomato. It will not be good and it does not taste. And because we are practiced to have tomato and onion is our basic thing which we have it in every food. So tomato, when we are coming from very far to Coimbatore, at least they may have some price less. But the same price, they are also like per kg 80 rupees, something they are telling. They are also facing the problem. So even the house, wives and everybody, women who are all cooking, they are facing the same problem.
Last week it is 10% less. Now it is increased the tomato and all. 70 rupees kg it was, but now going to get 99 rupees kg. Otherwise, you see, normally tomato inside of 50 only going to get. Always 45, 50 like that. That is a normal rate. Now it is gone to 1 is to double. Means 99 rupees. That is not a fixed rate. 20 to 30 days. Again going to get decreased. But people using much now.
टमाटर आ नहीं रहा है क्वालिटी में अच्छा और महंगा भी हो गया है ट्रांसपोर्ट नहीं आ रहा है बराबर इसके वजह से महंगा हो गया है
Still lower than the July 2023 soar of hitting over 200 rupees in some parts. But there is a common thread: the demand-supply disruption caused due to primarily 4 factors: erratic weather, untimely rain, extreme temperatures, changing monsoon patterns, often resulting in pests and diseases. The excessive rainfall and flooding in Himachal in 2023 and the impact on vegetables, just an example. Vegetables were responsible for about 30% of food inflation in the financial year 24, that's 2023-24, much higher than their 15.5% share in the food index. While surging prices of tomatoes and onions made headlines, the price rise was not limited just to them. And 2024 isn't playing out very differently yet. This year, the temperatures were 42 to 44 degrees Celsius for a prolonged period, which damaged flowering and fruiting, resulting in lower production, is what Sachin Patil, an official from the Pimpalgaon Agricultural Produce Market Committee in Maharashtra's Nasik district, told the Economic Times. In fact, a rating agency, CRISIL's report in April stated that prices of vegetables, the most volatile component of food inflation, may be elevated till June due to above normal temperatures, which likely is going to only continue for the few more days at least. CRISIL has highlighted that rising intensity and recurrence of weather disturbances have led to frequent bouts of volatility in vegetable prices in recent years. As climate risks mount, there is need to mitigate its impact on vegetable production and prices, is what CRISIL has stated.
Right now we are at a supermarket which exclusively sells vegetables and fruits, and on a daily basis it's even called Fresh Today, and people come here hoping that they get fresh vegetables and fruits for their everyday meal. But what is very shocking is that the price hike, when we try to speak to a lot of people, they were speaking about how expensive vegetables have become. In fact, this is about the situation of tomatoes, which is a staple food, a staple vegetable staple of every household in our country. And right now, tomatoes are selling at a price of up to 80 rupees, and some places it's even more than that. And onions are also becoming expensive, and other vegetables like radish and beans and brinjal, everything, the prices have doubled. And in some vegetables like gourd vegetables, the prices have tripled and in fact hiked by 4 times. Therefore, what we can understand at this point is the people are finding it extremely difficult to manage, and in fact some people spoke about how if something else get expensive, we can avoid it, but vegetables nobody can avoid it. It is a necessity, it is a need, and without tomatoes or onions or any other vegetable, life cannot go on.
Well, the consumer sees red as tomato prices go high in the financial capital. Now we are reporting from a vegetable market where we are seeing these red tomatoes are standing at 80 rupees per kg, and the prices are anticipated to go high as 120 rupees per kg here in Mumbai. It's not only tomatoes but several other veggies, which includes capsicum, which includes okra as well. Now capsicum also stands at 100 rupees per kg, and there have been various reasons attributed to skyrocketing prices of the vegetables in Mumbai. As far as the vegetable vendors are concerned, they are stating two important factors. The first is extreme heat, due to which the crop failure has taken place, and farmers are making use of water tankers to grow their crop.
But just how extreme is the weather currently anyway? Look at this. The year 2024 is set to be the most intense, with the highest number of heat waves in the past 15 years. In fact, these are the visuals on your screen are supposed to be a waterbed of a dam in Mohali. Look at that. Look at the cracks in your screen. It just shows what are we staring at. A waterbed at a dam has turned into a desert. And in fact, we are not showing those visuals to you, but there are animals dropping dead at this particular place. The carcass is very clearly visible. Of course, we are not showing that to you. Now, much of this is being experienced even as we speak, where the heat, the burning sensation, and the hot wind remains a common factor between the day and the night in parts of North India. India is among the most climatically vulnerable countries, and weather risks are only mounting, with weather conditions such as heat waves, flooding, storms, and changing monsoon patterns. Climate change is likely to have a dire impact on vegetable production and prices, and a direct impact on you and me. I'm at this point being joined by Pradeep Maur, who's a political analyst, Sujata Paul, who's a spokesperson for Congress, Vijay Sarana, who's an economist, Binod Anand, who's a member for the PMMSP committee, and also shortly I'm going to be joined by a farmer as well. But at this point, let me first go across to Vijay Sardana. And of course, thank you everybody for joining us. But Mr. Vijay Sardana, my first question to you: what do you see behind what's happening right now? Vegetable prices skyrocketing. They may have doubled over the last 2 weeks, but there seems to be a trend that's emerging, not only of the last few months, but if you compare it over a period of time, whenever there seems to be extreme weather conditions, there also seems to be a direct bearing on prices of vegetables. Are we looking at something that India otherwise hasn't seen very starkly?
First of all, good evening to all the panelists and the viewers. See, what is happening in this country is the way our population is increasing and land is constant, and further degradation of soil health. It is not only vegetable. If you look at every segment of food security is at risk. Let me elaborate just for a wider context. 70% of edible oil we are importing. Our pulses prices depends upon imported pulses. Our feed and fodder for livestock is in short supply from 40 to 60%. Our vegetables, even in production area, you talk about Maharashtra or Karnataka, even in the local production area, the consumers are paying anything from 80 to 100 rupees a kg. So what my only concern in the whole process is that in 75 years, till date, we have not seen a food security policy of India. How we are going to feed the growing population? What is the total demand? Take example of tomato. Is there any estimation what is the total demand of tomato in India? What you will find is only one data that how much we produce. That is also guesstimate of the states. There is no way to cross check what is the reality on ground. So somebody will talk about 10 million tons, somebody will say 15 million tons, somebody will say 100 million tons. There is no data whatsoever to
Okay.
check it because
Okay.
most of the seeds which are sold are either by private sector. Nobody knows how much which variety is sold unless there is a consolidated approach.
Okay.
So what we are finding in the whole context for a country like India, where we are talking about 144 crore population, we don't have a food security plan for this country. We do not have feed security plan for this country, even for livestock. So what I feel in Modi 3.0, I
Okay.
think they should seriously relook into agriculture on priority. Otherwise, food inflation will be beyond control. As of today, what was the sowing last year for tomato, potato, and onion? This year it is much less because there is no rain, excessive heat, and good quality seeds, which is coming actually from private sector. Most of the subsidized seeds do not match the
Okay.
productivity
Okay.
of private sector. So
No,
one
that's an
side we
important
are
point.
promoting
What we're
substandard
talking
seed
up.
through government
No,
subsidy schemes.
the
I
whole
think we
point
should
about
also check the
erratic
quality of
climate
seed
is an
which we are
important
giving
point.
to.
We'll come to that point as well. We'll come to that point about the subsidies and the subsidized rates. We'll come to that in a point. But I'm also being joined at this point by Mr. P.Chengal Reddy, who's an activist and chief advisor for the Consortium of Indian Farmers Association. Thank you very much. Mr. Chengal Reddy, my question to you is this. Many people, many experts have warned the way that India is seeing extreme weather phenomena. So you have times when you have incessant, heavy, unprecedented rainfall in parts of India, whether it be north and south. And then you have unprecedented heat waves, unprecedented soaring temperatures in other parts of India. As a farmer and as a advisor to the consortium of farmers, are you looking at this whole challenge of soaring vegetable prices and failing crops in a different way than what you used to see, say, 2 years ago? Is there any difference in how you approach it with the new reality?
Yeah, it is a fact that the climatic problems has created a real problem for the entire country. There's no two opinions because this climate issue is affecting the entire world. But then you look at the other side. What is that the countries like other countries have done? For example, Israel, for example, there is no water. You see, Israel produces 300 tons of tomato per hectare compared to India's 50%, 50 tons. The reason being, in Israel, they have developed technologies. You see, any technologies, let me not get into the details. The simple fact is, across the world, especially in developed countries like Europe, America, Canada, Brazil, if you see, they still command the world food production and the world food crop economy. See, if you see the compare in the last 10, 15, 20 years, the production of every crop in America, like maize, soya, canola, it has all gone up by 50, 100%. How come in India this hasn't happened? And
what
the
about
second
India?
thing is, look at the other issues also like processing and other things. See, sorry? Hello, did you?
What about
See, the
India?
question here, madam, is
do you
in the
see,
past 30 years,
I mean,
there
vegetable
is no
prices have been increasing, but what about the protection for farmers? I mean, I'm trying to understand We are hearing and we are witnessing so many things about climate changes. But is anything changing on the ground for farmers who are producing these vegetables? We talk about soaring prices, but is anything changing for the farmers?
Yes. No. See, yes, you are right. Nothing is changing for the farmers. Except, if you see in the past few years, across the country, in many states, they have increased the irrigation facilities, giving electricity at subsidized price. But when it comes to Government of India in the last 30, 40 years, except the fertilizer subsidy and concessional credit, the other issues are totally Government of India has failed. For example, technologies. So look at, I don't want to get into details. The Prime Minister, we have been asking the Prime Minister, when you go abroad, you are getting defense technologies, you are making agreements on IT, you are making agreements, trade agreements and all that. In the past 10 years, has Modi has ever made any agriculture agreement with any country? Well, the answer is simply no. I'm not finding fault with Mr. Modi or even earlier Manmohan Singh, because in the last 20 years, while service and industrial sectors have been growing at a phenomenal rate, we are more or less not even stagnated. It is in fact negative. I think earlier Devendra spoke. It is getting into serious problem which basically has to be attended only by Government of India. The states have a lot of limitations in terms of technologies, investments and all that. It is Government of India. For example, FDI in agriculture. Why is that when you are allowing FDI in defense, why not? Yes, ma'am, you can go ahead. Yeah. See, my suggestion is this. If at all, it's a calamity. There is no two opinions.
I'll get back to your suggestions.
And the whole country will be in serious
but let me just
problem
go across to Binod Anand at this point.
Okay.
Binod Anand, you heard what Mr. P.Chengal Reddy spoke right now. Now, Mr. Binod Anand, you are part of the Prime Minister's MSP committee. My question to you, has there been any change in how the committee looks at this entire challenge? Is there a change in how the government is perceiving this challenge? Is there a recognition of a challenge with respect to what India faces at the cusp of extreme weather phenomena? From urban households to rural households, the direct impact.
You see, firstly, the very warm good evening to all of you. It's already very, climate change is creating a lot of heat waves. You all are very troubled. And that's why the Reddy Garu and Mr. Vijay has been very troubled at this moment. In fact, the reason behind that is that supply chain of the tomato. It's not the production. We are one of the largest, quantity-wise we produce a lot. And if you will see the data, a few months back we were debating upon that why tomato price has crashed down. So it is what the farmers get is only 32% of the total price. So suppose you pay 100 rupees, a farmers get only 32 rupees, and that's a big challenge. So how the farmers will get the price? This is what my committee is doing. We are in process of creating bargaining council for the farmers. The way in Europe and the way in developed countries are there. None of the government earlier have even thought about it, and they will not only decide what to produce, which quality to produce, where to produce, and how to produce, but they will command where to sell, from whom the seeds will be purchased, and how the supply chain will be created. So wait for the time. My Honorable Prime Minister is on the job, and they have put all of us on job, and we will deliver his dreams. We will bring the results the way a developed nation wants. But the fact is that it is not the climate change, it is the supply chain which is troubled, and supply chain is not farmer-centric. Supply chain, even the seed supply is not farmer-centric.
Okay. So, this is a very important point. This is a very important point. I may disagree with this, but again, I am not an expert. It doesn't matter. Hold on. I have to go to the other panelists on this, and I know Sujata Paul, Pradeep Maur, please give me a minute. I just very quickly want to go to P.Chengal Reddy. P.Chengal Reddy, very quickly, I give you a minute. Respond to what Binod Anand is saying. He's saying this is not a production problem. This is not a climate change issue problem. This is not an extreme weather problem. This is a supply chain problem. As a farmer, do you agree with it?
No, I'm sorry. See, no, it's not correct. See, climate change is a serious issue. I mean, you see, in this, like for example, South Telangana, Hyderabad, around, we used to produce huge quantity of tomato. But in the last 2-3 years, this entire production has gone to topsy-turvy because the climate has increased to 46%. The only tomato that is produced in down south, in Madanapalli and Bangalore area, where the climate is conducive. See, this climate is a serious issue. I mean, you simply can't wither away. See, what has to be understood by everyone in this country is that while the market and other things are there, technologies, I have placed before you a very simple fact. See, maize production in India is 5 to 6 tons. In America, it is 12 tons. Cotton production in India is averages 600 kilos. China, it is 1900 kilos. Even coffee, India has been producing only about 1200 kilos for the last 30 years, whereas Vietnam has gone to 3000 tons. 3000 kilos. See, the problem here is we have to be realistic. See, there is no point in blaming XYZ, whether Prime Minister or officer. The reality is there is no realization across the country that agriculture is in serious crisis. Nobody understands. People may understand, but then nobody is taking responsibility. Therefore, the issue has to be taken up by the Prime Minister, because this is nothing to do with states. Let Prime Minister understand that the technology, it is you, Government of India, the ICR and others who have to bring the technologies. That's your problem. That is your challenge. What about the machinery? Okay. Look at Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. They are using China, for example. Okay. They have brought in a lot of small farm machines and they are made available. What about in India? You are getting defense, you are getting pharma, you are getting IT, but not agriculture technologies. The whole responsibility today is that of Government of India, and there is no point. I don't think there is nothing like blaming Mr. Modi or XYZ. They come and go, but the fact is that in the past 30 years, agriculture has been systematically neglected by UP also. I know, I have met Manmohan Singh. Every time I used to go to Manmohan Singh, he says, Reddy Saab, aap Sharad Pawar ke paas jaiye. Sharad Pawar says he will go to Pune. It's not that I'm asking, what about the president, the agriculture ministers in the last 10 years in Mr. Modi's cabinet? Do anybody know their faces? And what about this last thing I'm asking Mr. Modi?
Okay, you've made some very important points.
No, 1 second.
Let me just go across at this point.
Laws, he has appointed a committee of a joint secretary. No. He has appointed a joint secretary. In the past 1.5 years, the committee hasn't made any, is not able to produce a report and place it before the public. Okay, please go ahead. No, the functionality of Government of India is very unsatisfactory. Let me tell you in regard to agriculture.
Pradeep Maur, do you want to respond to this, Pradeep Maur?
Yes, definitely. Look, there's a lot of discussion going on regarding what's the main issue. I'll tell you that all these issues are interdependent, whether it is the climate change or the supply chain. Because what happens is tomato is highly perishable. So if you're supplying tomato from one place to another, and there is no proper storage facility, then definitely the temperature is going to affect. So all these things are interdependent. And the first priority of the government is developing the warehouses, cold storage houses, so that the supply chain is very well maintained and the cold supplies are maintained basically. This is very much required. As far as the tomatoes
you're making
are
a valid point. Pradeep sir, but do you even realize in your answer, you have also taken the same line as Mr. Binod Anand, and I'm sorry I'm interjecting you, but I'm coming back right to you. I'll give you time to answer this. But you haven't answered what, say, the CRISIL report has said. CRISIL report is saying that, listen, you're going to have spike in vegetables. It's going to get even more difficult because of extreme weather. Because of the extreme weather changes. You're talking about supply chain. We are stuck at production. Now, you had the panel with the Prime Minister's MSP committee. You had Mr. Binod Anand. He's saying that this is not a problem about climate change. There isn't an address. Are we refusing to even address the elephant in the room, which scientific reports are claiming? including farmers like the panelists on our show.
Sneha ji, when I talk about the supply chain, it definitely includes each and everything. Understand? If tomatoes are supplied from one place to another and they do not reach to the destination in proper condition, ultimately it is a wastage of tomato. If we are wasting, say, for example, 20% of the tomatoes or that any other vegetables, then ultimately we have to stop that wastage also. That is important. We can't ignore this, that this is not an important area. We should just ignore this. So this is a very, very important area as far as perishable products are concerned. Any perishable, be it fruits, vegetables, whatever, even milk, right? So um, another area is basically developing, increasing the fertility of the crops or increasing the production. So for increasing the production, that is important that we are not dependent upon the weather. And for that, we need complete polypropylene coverage. For that, government is already giving a subsidy so that, coverage can be maintained where we are very dependent upon the weather and the climatic condition, whatever the conditions required for the production, that can be maintained there. So all these things are being done in India. It's not something that we are away from it.
Okay, I'll go
We
to
were also
Chengal Reddy
affected.
on that, but
One point.
Sujata Paul, please
One.
respond. Do you
But I
agree
just
with
heard
Pradeep Maur
Changal.
is saying?
No. One point I want to make. I just heard. Can I make one point?
Sneha, the most important thing is to recognize that there is a problem. Unless you do that, you will not be able to find a solution. And a government is responsible for governance after it comes to power more than politics. But here, all that we've seen is confrontation between farmers and the government. And why I'm saying that is because climate change is a reality. You can't do away with that. However, is there a balance between infrastructure development and our environment? No, there isn't. Because Prime Minister Modi thinks that it is infrastructure development that requires his entire attention. And therefore, when we talk about technology, let's also understand that you're talking about, I keep saying what's cooking. I feel that we are getting cooked in this entire issue because if the Prime Minister really recognized what the issue was, he would ensure that technology reached farmers because this problem had been identified by then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh at this Golden Jubilee celebration of Indian Agricultural Research Institute in New Delhi in 2012 when he said that there was a gap and technology was not reaching people. He also said that the annual farm growth was expected to be in 2011-12 3.5%. But in fact, during that period of 12th plan period, but he said that there was a huge gap between the crop yield per hectare and the achievable potential under ideal farming practices. What does this mean? That the problem was that technology was available, but it was not reaching our farmers. Our government, why do we pay taxes? What is the government responsible for? The government is responsible for ensuring that people benefit from their programs. So it's not about a Kisan Samman Nidhi which goes into the account only. It is more to do with technology that should reach people because the groundwater today is getting depleted. You know the pictures that you showed of the dam in Mohali. Why is that happening?
Sujata, just a minute. Sujata, just a minute. You're talking about groundwater.
Yes.
You're talking about groundwater. Okay, Pradeep, you want to make a point? I'll give you just 10 seconds for now because Sujata is talking about a groundwater and I have to go to that report before I go to the other panelists. Pradeep Maur, 10 seconds before I go to the report.
Right. I heard Mr. Changal and he was talking about technology imports. That's very well understood by everybody that technology imports are not only technology imports, we are capable of developing indigenous technology as well. But the issue is whenever you try to apply, same Congress spokespeople, they will come around and start convincing all the farmers that something is going wrong with you. You can't even talk about industrial agriculture over here. And I mean, there'll be complete gaga and migration of people will start happening.
Sir,
So
farmers
India
know
has
their
different
job.
conditions. We
Congress
can't
may try
compare
to
it
do
with any
what they
other
are doing,
country.
Pradeep sir.
We
Let's
have
not
to
make
live
a
with our
mockery of
conditions and
farmers.
we have to do
Politics तो
things
चलता
as per
रहेगा.
our conditions.
Politics तो चलता रहेगा, sir. Congress may do what it is doing. BJP may do what it is doing. Why are we making mockery out
So
of the farmers, sir? They are feeding India. Just because any political party goes and tries to instigate them, they are not going to get instigated. There's not a sweeping umbrella for farmers.
Let's not
It's not a
insult our
sweeping.
farmers.
Okay,
My comment not
allow me
doesn't go
a
to the
minute.
farmers. It
Allow
goes
me
to
a
the Congress
minute.
spokesperson.
Allow me a
It
minute.
goes to the
I
Congress
have to
spokesperson,
play this
Sujata Paul.
report out by my colleague Manoj from Mohali, where a dam bed, a water bed, has turned into a desert. Let's play the report.
इस बार भीषण गर्मी से पूरा देश झुलस रहा है। खासकर उत्तर भारत में हालात भयावह हो गए हैं। पेयजल संकट खड़ा हो गया है। इंसानों के साथ साथ जंगली जीव और जानवर भी अब भीषण गर्मी की चपेट में आने लगे हैं, क्योंकि जलाशय सूखने के चलते जंगली जीव अब प्यास से मर रहे हैं। इस वक्त हम पार्श डैम में खड़े हैं। पार्श डैम जो कि पंजाब के मोहाली जिले में आता है और शिवालिक पहाड़ों की तलहटी में ये डैम बना हुआ है, लेकिन ये डैम पूरी तरीके से सूख गया है, जो कि आम दिनों में पानी से लबालब भरा रहता था। लेकिन इस बार ऐसी गर्मी पड़ी है और बारिश न होने के चलते यह पूरा डैम सूख चुका है। बड़े बड़े जो दरार हैं, आप देखिए किस तरीके से क्रैक्स यहां पर नजर आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि पानी बिल्कुल यहां पर सूख चुका है। दूर तक आप देखेंगे, जहां तक नजर जाती है इसी तरीके से सूखे का आलम है। बूंद भर भी पानी का नामो निशान नहीं है और इस इलाके में जो जंगली जीव यहां पर रहते हैं, उनके पानी का जो एकमात्र साधन था वो यही डैम था। लेकिन इस डैम में पानी सूखा और उसके बाद जानवरों की लगातार मौत होने लगी। आप देखिए, एक जानवर का जो कंकाल है वो यहाँ पर नजर आ रहा है और अभी भी जो बड़ी सी एक क्रैक है उसके अंदर उस जानवर का जो पैर है वो फंसा हुआ नजर आ रहा है। बहुत सारे जानवरों की यहाँ पर जो मौत है वो इन क्रैक्स में फंसकर हुई है, क्योंकि अब ये मिट्टी पूरी तरीके से सूख चुकी है। इससे पहले ये पूरी तरीके से दलदल बन गया था और जिसके चलते यहाँ पर कई जानवरों की मौतें हो चुकी हैं। एक आंकड़े के मुताबिक स्थानीय निवासियों ने जो हमें जानकारी दी है, करीब 550 जंगली जीवों की मौत हो चुकी है और इसी तरीके से जो जानवरों की हड्डियां हैं वो बिखरी पड़ी हैं जगह जगह। जहां भी नजर डालेंगे इस तरह से जो जीवों के कंकाल हैं वो नजर आ जाएंगे।
Okay, for our viewers from south of India who may not be well versed with Hindi, let me just translate this excellent report by my colleague Manoj. He's gone on to show this entire waterbed, a dam area that should have been full of water, but you can see the thick cracks showing the parched lands. In fact, a waterbed turning completely into a desert area. And not just that, he showed us, and of course we had to blur those visuals, there are wild animals dropping dead for lack of water. Vijay Sarana, if I can come back to you at this point. Look at the discussion that we had till now. Almost 20 minutes into the show, a discussion that we had. Now let's have this discussion, say 2 years back or 3 years back. This discussion would have been very same. What has changed in these 3 years? The visuals that we showed on the screen. Look at the dam bed. Look at the heat wave. But none of that seems to factor in the discussion that we are having. And isn't that the irony?
The problem is that everybody
Mr. Vijay
knows
Sarana.
that we have a climate change issue. Everybody knows that India's agricultural productivity compared to other countries is very low. Everyone knows that it takes about 5 to 7 years to develop a good quality seed. Everybody knows that technology transfer can be done either through demonstration or through other means. Everyone knows everything. The point is, what we are discussing, your point is very valid. Go back 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, discussions were same. Point here comes up is that what actions we have done in last 10, 20, 30 years. Let me give you one live example which exposes that how we hide the facts. You go to Government of India website, there is an organization called National Horticulture Board. Their mandate is to collect daily price data from important mandis at wholesale level and also in retail level. Take the data of tomato of Government of India agencies, which is fully functional. Every officer is paid salary by taxpayer on a daily basis. What it says? Data not available. Are you saying that tomatoes are not selling in Delhi? Tomatoes are not selling in Azadpur? Why today's data is not there? Why yesterday's data is not there? Why last week's data is not there? Why last month data is not there? Point here is that the whole approach towards agriculture is dysfunctional. Because as long as people are tolerating inflation, no action is required. Are we anticipating that people should come to the street, do the traffic blockade, only then governments will wake up? Are we anticipating that action? That is what the whole problem is. We are not interested even monitoring. Forget about action plan. We even don't monitor what is happening in the data in an age which is fully internet connected. Every APMC mandi has an internet connection. We are talking of digital India. We are talking about space research in India. Remote sensing can tell you very clearly what is the status of ground, whether there is a moisture in soil or not. What action we have taken last month?
Okay.
What action we have taken last week? Nothing whatsoever, except meetings and discussions, and wait for the next meeting. In between, what action they have taken, it is neither in public domain, not in government minutes. So what we should assume? No action is taken.
I think there's no
Everything is at
better
the mercy
person who
of
can
God.
answer this on our panel except Binod Anand. Binod Anand, do you want to respond to what Vijay Sarana is saying? He's calling the entire system currently dysfunctional. He's saying it's misplaced priorities. He's saying that we are not even facing what's right before us. Where's the data, he's asking.
Sneha,
Binod
Anand. You have given almost 98. You have given 95% of time to the other speakers. And let me respond to that 95% of, mudslinging which has been done on the government of India. The very first thing is that Mr. Sarana should understand that the data is not being updated now on NHB. It is at Inam portal, it is very much there. You go and see this, check it. We are not putting the data because the reason behind that, there are a speculator. Let me speak, Mr. Sardana. Let me speak, Mr. Sardana. Don't interrupt me. I haven't interrupted any one of you.
Yes, Mr. Sardana,
So
allow
keep
Mr.
some
Binod
decency,
to speak. Sure,
right?
Mr. Binod, go ahead.
You have taken too much off.
Mr. Binod, go ahead.
Let me speak
Kindly
first.
go ahead. Binod, Mr.
So
Binod,
please
go ahead.
recheck the data.
Go ahead, Mr. Binod.
There is Digi Stack. There is a lot of innovation has happened. There is a Bhuvan portal. There is a Bhuvan portal of ISRO. Go and please check it where it is being done. See, the tomato is not produced in every part of the country annually. It's a 4-month crop, and in a hilly estate it has already been transplanted. It is harvested in southern part of the country, also harvested in Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka. So from where you will find the tomato at this moment in that much supply as it was. It was those people who are supplying and selling the tomato who has kept a stock of this in their cold storage, which was not geo-tagged, right? So we are connecting all those supply chain places with a blockchain technology so that these speculations would not happen. And ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you one thing, that you are giving only 32% to the farmers. And the distributor and retailers and the people who are in between, the mediators, they are getting all the dues. And they are taking benefit out of this. And they take benefit every year, annually. And that there is a cartel behind that, and that's why you are doing that. Second answer to the Mr. Reddy Garu. You see, whole of the United States of America produce one variety of tomato, that is beef tomato. Whole of the different part of the country are uniformity in the nation. We produce almost 73 different types of tomato. We are very diverse nation. Let us respect that diversity. The tomato which is produced in the hilly state is not produced in the southern part of the country, and not produced that kind of tomato in Narayangaon. So far, this kind of diversification and this kind of the diversity was not well understood. As so far concerned about the technology, my farmers do not need the technology from the Canada and from the Israel to produce the tomato. They'll learn how to know how to produce a tomato. They will teach the United States of America and they will teach the Israel how to produce the tomato. We don't need technology and those kind of modification what Mr. Reddy Gauri was talking about. We are very much technological rich. If the world wants to know, we will teach them how to produce
Mr.
the tomato.
Binod, I think you will
Time
be.
and again, I am
I
saying
think
you, it is a
there'll
supply
be
chain
one thing
issue,
that you will say. I've
and
given
it
you
is the
ample time.
mediators who are giving. And the
No,
point
but I'm going to come
third,
to you only.
and point
Mr.
number
Binod,
third,
you
Sneha,
spoke about diversity. You spoke about diversity, Mr. Binod.
Give me one moment, please.
So I also have to go to others because
Can
you
I have
also
a
took on
minute,
Mr.
Sneha?
Reddy. I have to go to him. I have to go to Sujata Paul as well. Okay, go ahead. A minute, not 30 seconds, not more than that, sir.
I want to respond to your reporter who has given the parched land. That parched land is the dam. It's a dam place. You do not understand the watershed management, please. That is the silty part, and wherever in the dam water is not there, the silt gets that kind of thing. So it is not the heat waves and it is not the climate change. It is a time period where the dam's silt is looked like that. Come to the Bihar, I will show you many one of like that. You please understand what is a desert, what is a land restoration, what are the environmental challenges, contours map of India, soil map of India, before bringing this kind of dreadly report to the masses. Yours is a very respectable channel. People watch it with all due care.
I don't think these are deadly reports. I don't think these are deadly reports. The fact that animals, their carcasses are falling dead is important to be looked into. It's definitely something that needs addressed because animals are seasonal. Animals know where to go. No, sir. I have to beg to differ. Animals know where to go and drink. Animals know the seasonal differences. Animals know where they can get their source of water. You cannot negate. You cannot negate climate change. However, I will come back to what the real issue is, and because you went on to ask Mr. Reddy at this point, Mr. Reddy, do you want to respond to what Mr. Binod Anand, you are talking over others. When others spoke over you, you did not like it. I don't think you can speak over others also. It's equal games for everybody. Mr. Chengal Reddy, do you want to respond to what Binod Anand said?
See, all that I can wish to inform the government, your through channel to public government and others is the Indian agriculture is going to in the verge of collapse. The only way to solve is it's all in the hands of government of India. And we have in fact made an absurd suggestion to Prime Minister. Appoint your agriculture minister as a deputy prime minister and have a separate agriculture budget. The point is, see, we know that most of us, we have somehow get into this political pro or anti-government, anti-this, anti-that. No, we are not interested. We have nothing to do. Say Vijay Sarana is there. In fact, Anand himself has worked a lot of us. See, we have nothing to do with Mr. Modi or Manmohan Singh or political parties. Basically, the issue, as your channel has highlighted, there are 2-3 fundamental things. You said, first of all, the climatic change. It is a fact, number one. The second thing, whether we are able to produce sufficient quantities, because today 55% are in urban areas. They are not interested in diversity. They are interested daily availability of every agriculture produce at a reasonable level. Then we have to understand the problems of climatic that is arising out of this too much of tomato, all these things. The question is, who is to solve, how to solve is the challenge before Mr. Modi. The question is, yes, Mr. Modi, you are capable of solving this issue. Only thing is, are you willing to listen and take a decision? That's all. I'm not going to say that Vinod, whatever Vinod says, yes, he has a point. There is no doubt that it is a highly diverse country. We can't have uniformity. But then the question is not that. Today, it's a question of food security.
I have to go to others as well. I have to go to others as well. You've responded to Binod Anand as well.
Yeah, that's it. Please.
Pradeep Mahor, do you want to respond?
Right.
Pradeep Mahor, I'll come to everybody for 30 seconds before ending the last responses. Pradeep Mahor. 40 seconds, Pradeep Mahor.
I heard Vijay Sarana. He was talking about some pulses that in India the pulses production we have to import and all that kind of thing. For his information, I think he is not well versed with the agriculture situation of India. Government of India tried a lot so that the pulses are grown locally, but when the farmers were not ready because of the time it required, they wanted rotation crops, so that is why the government decided to finally import. I mean, they had given a contract to some other countries so that they can produce and supply it to us. And even the dam that you are saying, I'm very, very much happy that Vinod has put over that point, because the silt formation, I just saw that. I also wanted to make the same point. The silt formation, whenever there is a water supply, when the gates are closed, then it has to happen. Definitely, the issue of animals, dying, that is something different. We should not relate this issue to the agriculture or climatic changes making all havoc. No, nothing like that. As per Vijay
That's my
Sarana,
point,
I mean,
Mr.
I
Pradeep.
heard
Not
him. It
everything
was
can be
something
seen in
like all
isolation.
the government departments have
Everything
just
is
gone okay.
interlinked.
And he is the only person who knows everything in this world. I was really surprised.
No,
He
that's
was
not true.
blaming
Not
each and
every
every government
government is
department like anything.
that's you are
If
creating your line. This is not the line that we have taken. This is not the line we believe. We believe in working constructively with governments, whatever it is, even as
Definitely.
journalists.
So if
There's no
somebody is
question of
blaming
any government
everything,
going gone case, otherwise they would
how
not
can
have
we
been
talk about
elected by the
constructive?
people. So this kind of narrative, no. But nonetheless, Sujata Paul, to you please.
Yes, the problem that you can see very well from your debate is that everything has become so centralized that whatever one man says has to be applicable everywhere. I come from Uttarakhand. Today I'm in Noida and Delhi, and I see no difference between the weather in Dehradun and here. The fact is that if we work in compartments and isolated compartments, we are not going to be able to resolve any problem. This is why we have civil society. Just next Sunday, there is a group of people in the capital of Uttarakhand who will be working to prevent trees from being cut. Why? Because if you don't do that, there will be a problem with the environment and it will affect your agriculture indirectly. Now, you were talking about the Shivalik range and the silt which has collected. So, in the Shivalik range, which the UPA government wanted to declare as an eco-biosphere, we are seeing infrastructure development and a road is being constructed on a river. And
Okay, I'm being told to wrap. I'm sorry I'm interjecting. I just very quickly.
Wow.
One question.
What a
Binod
point,
Anand, I'll
Sujata
not
Paul.
be able to give
I
you
mean,
more time. Hold on. Pradeep, Sujata, hold on. I don't have time. Binod Anand, very quickly, 20, maybe 15 seconds. Will you spend time just giving us a statement or two? Do you see a diversified approach with the government today looking at just how extreme the weathers have become and how divided the country seems in terms of these extreme weathers? Is that approach being seen in how agriculture is being seen vis-a-vis the impact on vegetables and other resources? Is that being seen? Are you seeing that?
Sneha, it's only 5 ton per capita we do have production in the horticulture produce, and out of that 5 ton, 70% is TOP. So it is a supply chain issue. Again, I am coming back to that. Tomato has only 0.6% in the CPI, Consumer Price Index. That's the figure, that's the data on an average. That country need to decide that which is the cause of inflation. And so if we're concerned about the environment, please keep another debate. I assure you that I will bring all the points which has been narrated. We are all with you. There is a challenge of climate, but that's a global challenge. That's not our problem. That's a problem of Uncle Sam, and that's a problem of OECD countries. They have troubled the environment, and we need to understand the flora and fauna and the diversity
but there's also
of the
another
country
aspect. And while you're talking about food
statement.
inflation, vegetables, according to the CRISIL report, was responsible for 30% of food inflation in the financial year 24. But allow me to just go to Vijay Sarana. Vijay Sarana, closing comments from you.
That's not the Brahmavakya, Sneha. That's not the Brahmavakya.
See, the point here comes up is,
certainly. That's why I
CRISIL report is not the Brahmavakya.
Sneha, the interesting point is our friend mentioned that now data
Please
is
allow
on
Vijay Sardana to.
Now data is on ENAM website. I was looking at data. Can you imagine the data in last whole week in Himachal, which is the Palanpur main mandi there, supply is reducing from 27 quintal to 8 quintal and prices are also dropping. Look at the quality of data we are getting. It shows either there is no crop available. In the whole area, it's only 8 quintal production. And when the supply was 27, the price of crop was 1800. When the supply is only 8 quintal, prices also dropped to 1300. Is this logical? What I'm trying to say is that the biggest problem which is happening is we are misrepresenting the facts even to the policymaker. What expectation is there
We're
when it
totally
comes to
out of
action
time,
plan?
ladies and gentlemen. Pradeep Maur, Sujata Paul, Vijay Sardana, Binod Anand, and P.Chengal Reddy. I cannot thank you all enough for being part of this panel, for adding much to this discussion. I'm sure viewers have learned much as they are leaving this. And very importantly, we hope that we'll be able to keep this discourse on. Thank you very much for joining us.